Okay guys, welcome to this second tutorial where I'm going to show you how to navigate the menu that we set up in the first tutorial. So how we can navigate between pages by selecting the menu that we set up in tutorial 1. So as you can see, if you're not sure how to make these menus, just check out our first tutorial, and now I'm going to show you how to navigate and switch between pages by clicking on this menu, this floating left menu that we have here. Okay, so we have our dashboard, which is our main page. Then we have our floating group, which is our left menu. I'll just rename that. Okay, and now when we click on this option, we want to be able to display the page that we want. And to do that, I like to use navigation parameters. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is grab a group, and we'll just roughly lay it out like so. Okay, so that's the size that we're laying out. Now to easily recreate this, and if your app gets pretty full, you don't want all your workflows to fill up in here, so we're going to use reusable elements. So now that I've got the size of the page structure that we're going to use, we're just going to convert this into a reusable, and we're going to call it dashboard. Okay. Now if I just open up our original page as well, dashboard. Okay, we delete that because we've converted it into a reusable, so it'll be down here. Drag this into position. Okay, so now we're going to say we untick loading, and we go condition when get data from URL tab, you can name this whatever you like, is dashboard. This element is visible. Okay, so when we click on our menu, so now when we click on our menu, okay, so when we click on our menu, we have a workflow here that's going to show the sub page. Okay, so this comes down to your personal preference on whether this is actually a page as well as this. Okay, because what you want to do is show dashboard, but when you click on it, it's going to drop down and show the sub menu. So what we might do is just change it so only if you click on the arrow does it show the sub menu. So that way when we click on dashboard, it's going to do that and show the correct page. Okay, so we're just going to cut that out and go left menu, just find. Okay, so this one here is our feather icon. We just put this into a group just to make it a bit bigger for navigation wise. It's easier to, rather than making it just the small little group there. So when we click on this, we're now going to show our sub menu. Okay, so now it's not showing them when we click on the main page here. It's whether you click on here. So if you want to make that a little bit nicer, we could also just make this 200 round and say when this group is hovered, we want our background style. Background style to be flat color, and our background color to be just something light, just so it shows the user that you are hovering. Okay. Okay, back to displaying this. So now, when in our URL at the top, the parameter contains dashboard, the word dashboard, our page will be displayed. So to do that, we click on here and go when this is clicked. We want to go navigate, go to page, the current page that we're on. So we want to send more parameters. We're going to name it tab because we named a tab, and we're going to say current cell pages display name. Okay, so now as we click on the menu options, you can see up here that we have a parameter that's telling us what page to display. Okay, so if we go back to our dashboard reusable element, okay, we make that, and we'll just pop the group in here. Now when we load it, it's switching, and when it says dashboard, we're showing that page. Okay, so we go back to our dashboard. We can bring that all the way up. Okay, so now we have a nice little one here. So probably the next thing for design-wise is to say that when we're hovering on here, it's changing the color. Okay, so but we want to make it not only when it's hovered, but when this is hovered. When this is hovered, or parent group page display is the same as the tab parameter in the URL. Okay, same as this. Or parent group pages display is same as the tab parameter in our URL. Okay, so now if we load that, okay, so now it's staying that because it's showing that I'm on the actual dashboard page. Okay, next thing we probably want to look at fixing up on this little app is responsiveness. Okay, so I know Bubble is coming out with a new responsive engine. At the moment, we're working with the current responsive engine that they have, but I'm very excited to look at what comes out in the future. But for the time being, on how to use this, what we want to do is probably collapse this menu because we don't want to display that on a mobile page, and we want this to then be centered our main page, and we'll probably just throw up a little there. So I might just quickly put a header menu. So to do that, we're going to go floating group. Okay, and we'll just call this header. Okay. Probably style-wise, we might just put just a little drop shadow. Okay. And we'll just put a little image. Okay. So I've just thrown a floating group at the top there with the logo. So we'll just have to put a color on there just because it was set to transparent background. Okay, so now we've got a nice little header menu, our left menu, and our first page. here. Okay, so to make this responsive, first thing we want to do is add our plugin for a slide menu. Okay, so we just install our slide menu plugin. We go back to our, make sure that we've selected on our header, slide menu, and we're just going to pop that up here. Okay, so that's, we only want to show this on mobile though. So we will say that this isn't visible. Let's say when current width less than equal to 920, this element is displayed. Okay. So now that our side menu is showing as we reduce our screen size, but we need to play around with the responsiveness of the logo so it doesn't collapse like that. Okay, first thing we want to do is not display this side menu when it's on mobile. So we're going to do the same here. So when width less than or equal to 920, this element isn't visible. Okay, so as we drop it down, our side menu has disappeared. Okay, but now what we need to do is fix up our header here. So we'll just pop this into the group. Just see there. Okay, so we can probably play around with exactly how this is going to look. Depends on how OCD you are with design. A little bit smaller. Responsiveness. Yeah. And it just pops up as the screen gets smaller. Okay. And we have our side menu looking at mobile. Okay, so the next thing that we want to do is, even though we aren't showing our menu, you can see that our actual page is not collapsing down to the left. So to do that, we just want to, I'll just hide that, and our left menu is 320 width. So what we're going to do is put a group here, make it the same width, and height, and our left floating menu. Okay. So this is our collapse at 960. Sorry, 920. Now to make this collapse, we're going to go to our responsive tab over here. We're going to make sure that we have our collapse selected, and we're going to add a hiding rule and say at 920, this is not going to appear. Okay, so that's going to hide our little group that we put under our menu. Now the reason we do that is because when we hide something using the responsive engine here, it collapses our page. So for example, as that gets closed, gets smaller, and we hide our left menu, now our main page is being centered. Okay, as you can see like that. Now one other thing that we can do is to make sure it's nice. We can either bring this out like this and go center horizontally, just so there's a smaller gap there. Okay, and now that's our page there. Now to make that perfectly centered, what's happening is we have room over on this side. So what we want to do is make sure our page is from our left menu all the way to our right menu. Now in our dashboard page, because I've made that wider, just make sure that we change the width of our reusable element to be a little bit wider. Okay, so now we have a nice looking, fully responsive dashboard, and we can select our pages. We can collapse. We can collapse it down to a smaller screen size, and we can see that everything is responsive, beautifully responsive. Okay. Now, if you wanted to tweak that a little bit more, depending on how much content that you're putting in here, if you're doing charts or there's going to be a lot of content within your page, this may even be wasted space as well. So I'll quickly show you how we can do that. So this is the gap here, and it's maintaining that gap as the screen size gets smaller. Okay. So what we can do is we can go into our responsive tab, and this is our main group for our page. We can say that when our container width, so it's actually our container width, not our page width. So our container width is currently there. If we change that to 920, because our container is our page, okay? We're collapsing. So we're losing that gap between the side of the page and our main group that we're using as our page. Okay, so to give you an idea of what that looks like. Okay, so when we get down to this size, then we've lost that because when you go on mobile, you want as little wasted space as you possibly can, especially if you're doing charts or like data tables where you have lots of elements. You really need to make use of all your available space. Okay, that's probably it for our second tutorial. I hope you got some value out of it. Yeah, hit subscribe, hit like, let us know what you're building. If you need any help with anything else design-wise, or if you want to dive into more complex things. But I think for the next tutorial, I might continue building out this dashboard and show you guys how we try and maintain our build process from the start and our responsiveness from the beginning all the way through, rather than building all your features and then going, oh, that looks dreadful on mobile, and then you're just doubling up and spending hours and hours trying to make things work on different screens. So this way, you have a really good framework, and then you just duplicate. So because we're using reusable elements, and this is our dashboard, so I might just, okay, so this is our dashboard page. Okay, so now we're in our reusable one here. We're just going to go up to edit, and I'm a little bit blind. Clone this page. Okay. One of our next page was profile. Profile, and then back on our main dashboard page. All we want to do is copy our condition that's showing it to be dashboard. Come down to here. Paste that in and say when it is profile. We make sure that we untick visibility on page load, and we just want to double check, so we're 1600 by 19 by 16. That will be the same because we just duplicated it, but our location on the page has to be spot on. Okay, so we just look at our 320 by 84, 320 at 84. So that way we're exactly lined up. And now if we run our, okay, so we're displaying our dashboard page, and then we're displaying our profile page. You can just go and build that out. Duplicate one for settings, one for integration tool as you go. So it's very easy to make sure that everything is responsive all the way through, and you just replicate that way, and you're not building and losing where you are and widths of pages, and I'm sure a lot of you guys have felt the stresses of trying to make Bubble responsive. Okay, so now we've got our dashboard page and our profile page. Another great reason that we use tab parameters in our URL is, especially if you're going to share or if people are going to log out or log in directly to a certain page rather than using conditions, that actual URL will then, so when you load your app, you're not just going to go to the main dashboard. You might send someone an email saying, update your profile page. They click on the link, it'll navigate directly to the profile page from the URL. So that's one of the great reasons we use URL parameters for our navigation. Okay guys, I hope you enjoyed it, and yeah, hit subscribe, hit like, leave a comment, let us know what you're working on or anything you need help with. I'm happy to do more tutorial videos.